Welcome to the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL daily. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
Recapping this obviously disappointing game. They played and coached better than us. The Rams were the better team, obviously, yesterday. And so they played really well. We didn't take advantage of the opportunities when they were presented. And so we got a lot of growth opportunities coming out of this game. We got to get better collectively as a group. And so, we got a lot of work to do. But, our guys, I think, are still working really, really hard. They're battling. From a medical perspective, Tolly has a high ankle and Jack Stoll has a high ankle. So those will be week to week. We'll see, probably going to be tough to play this week, but we'll see how those guys progress.
Saints coming off a 34-10 loss to the Rams on Sunday, and as Coach Moore mentioned, there were a couple injuries coming out of it as well that we're going to watch this week in tight end Jack Stoll and right tackle Taliese Fuaga. Quarterback Tyler Shough had his first start and saw his first career touchdown with an 11-yard pass to Juwan Johnson as he led a 2-minute drill before the half.
It speaks a lot to him, man. I mean, he's done such a tremendous job and just cheering on other guys when he wasn't the starter. Always worked hard, didn't complain, didn't make it about him, didn't make a big fuss about anything. Just kept his head down and worked. And that's kind of how I always knew him, even, dating back to Oregon. I mean, he was always that guy who was just working hard, didn't complain, was always always a joy to be around. So it's good to see that he's still that way. And so, just going in and seeing his first touchdown is kind of like his journey through Oregon, Louisville, Texas Tech, and to here. I mean, it's a true testament of courage, just bravery, just doing what he's done, ups and downs, injuries, all that. It's a true testament of what he's done. So I'm just glad he got his first touchdown. He got many more to go.
Yeah, I thought there were some positives. I thought Tyler had good command. I felt like he was in control. Obviously, at the end of the day, we just didn't get enough ops. He had 35 snaps because, obviously Taysom played QB a few snaps. I felt like there's some positive things in there. I thought the end of half drive, really, really good drive, really good example of him. Made some big-time throws. We got a, sack in there that he responds to after the penalty. And then in the second half, I thought he had a couple drives there where, we had some completion, and then, we just weren't able to finish the drives. So I thought there were some trends going upward. I really like Tyler's performance. And so obviously we got more steps to go as we go through that journey. But, I think something he can build on.
The Saints' run game continued to struggle with just 57 yards on the day, and they had a tough time stopping the run as the Rams tallied 171 rushing yards. Coach Moore said it's an area they need to address. Ultimately, it comes down to being more consistent, whether that's with technique, blocking, fitting the gaps, or tackling. To help break down the Saints game and what to look forward to this week in the Panthers, let's bring in former Saints linebacker, Super Bowl champ, and Fox analyst, Jonathan Vilma. Jonathan, thanks for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It is great to have you, especially since you saw the Saints the past 2 weekends, got to call their games. How are you doing?
Doing great. Yeah, called both of their games. Always fun to call the Saints games, even if the outcome isn't what everyone expects in New Orleans.
I think going into this year, though, expectations were not extremely high, and everybody understood it was going to be a building year, have a lot of young players in some key positions. So after seeing them the past couple weeks, halfway through the season now, how would you evaluate where the team is?
The team is still trying to find their identity. They have a really good defense, but it's hard to say that this team is led by the defense because obviously you're 1-8 and you do need some sort of oomph or spark offensively. And so I think right now the challenge is finding what works for the team and what complements each other. And it seems like if you go back to the Giants game where the defense was taking the ball away, offense protecting the football, that obviously with any team gives you the best chance to win. But right now it seems like that is the only way for the Saints to win, where the identity is an aggressive defense that's more than just good, but they are aggressive in taking the ball away. And once you start to do that, give your offense a short field, give your offense a chance to get some points on the board, or even score the ball themselves, right? So I think that's what I mean by the identity. I think it's taking it to a different level in the sense of, okay, we're not just going to be a good defense and our offense don't turn the ball over. We have to find ways to create offense. Speaking on the defensive side, find ways to create offense because just playing good defense isn't good enough right now. And that'll be something that they continue to work on during the season.
I think as the season's gone on, an area that the defense has struggled in, though, is stopping the run. We saw that against the Rams, allowing 171 rushing yards. Coach Moore talked about it today. He said that a lot of it is just the need to be more consistent, whether it's, you know, getting in your gaps or tackling, different things like that. Where does shutting down that run game start?
Well, yeah, so it does start with gap discipline, tackling, but it also is, I'd say, twofold. The first is don't allow if the player is to be tackled for two, don't allow him to kind of slip through, fall forward for 4 or 5 yards, because now that creates a second and short, third and medium, and then now it's easy to convert the first down. So sometimes it's more than just gap discipline. It's actually gap discipline, stop the guy, stop his momentum, don't let him fall forward, because those 2 yards, when he falls forward, makes a difference. And then the other part is, frankly, the help of the offense, because you get worn down. If you're the Saints defense and you go back to the Rams game, and really not blaming anybody, it's not the blame game. It's really just how complementary football is supposed to be played. The offense goes 3-and-out, I think 3 times in a row. And, you're just out there a lot, right? You only run 9 plays, and then your defense is going against one of the better offenses. So naturally, they're going to get tired. They're going to be worn down. So that also plays a factor into it, where if that is going to be the case, then do you have enough bodies on the defensive front to rotate them in and out? So you have fresh bodies, you have guys that are going to get off blocks, you have guys that are going to penetrate and then be able to stop the run. If you don't, you're going to have tired defenders, and it goes back to what I initially said. If you have tired defenders and now they're tackling someone that has a full head of steam, that 3-yard run turns into 6-yard run. That 4-yard run turns into a 7 or 8-yard run, and the cycle just continues. So I'm always a big believer that you take the holistic approach. Obviously, defensively, they have to tighten some things up, but everyone has to help out.
Starting faster has been something that the Saints have talked about throughout the season, defensively, but mainly offensively, not getting down early in these games, because then you have to abandon the run game. You are putting more on the defense. The inability to sustain drives offensively, it kind of all is compounding, as you mentioned. What would you like the Saints to do, or what can they do to maybe stick with the run game more so they can have those longer drives? Is it just as simple as not getting behind?
It's really a true commitment. It is very challenging in this era of football if you don't have, last year's Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, right? Detroit Lions offensive line, some of these, or the Vikings, right? Where some of these offensive linemen, they're just flat out really good players. And because of that, you can run the ball at will. And if you can run the ball at will, then it's easy, right? The play caller has the patience because they see the gains in the run game. Most teams, though, they have a good offensive line, not a bunch of Pro Bowlers across the board. So it's really about being able to have a commitment to the run game and the play calling. So, okay, it goes for 2 yards. It goes for another 2 yards. Run it again, goes for another 2 yards. You have to punt. Well, at least you're starting to establish that we have an emphasis. We are committed to running the football, because at some point, especially with a guy like Kamara, he's going to break one. And I'm not saying break one for a touchdown, but he'll get you the 10 yards, 20 yards, right? He has that ability. So it's really just a matter of really committing to it. And like I said, it's tough. It's easy for other teams to do it. It's tough when you're not seeing the 5 yard pops every time. And if you're not seeing that, then naturally you say, okay, well, what else is going to work, right? If this is quote unquote not working, well, maybe it's not working early on. It can work later on as long as you continue to try and impose your will on the defense. But if you don't keep the commitment to the run game, then, just everything gets out of whack.
Looking at the offensive line, Eric McCoy out for the rest of the season. You saw Luke Fortner come in at center, fill in for him. And then now it looks like Talia Sefuaga, he's going to be week to week dealing with a high ankle sprain. You have or thought you had your pieces in place on your line, and now you're going to have some people out. How much does that impact the ability to stick with that run game?
I would say it goes the other way, that you need to emphasize the run game, because with Eric McCoy out and Luke Fortner stepped in, he's done well. Taliesin possibly going to be out, or he's week to week. The biggest thing that happens is a lack of communication in the passing game, right? Setting the protections, understanding the blitzes, knowing where the defensive front is going to be going or slanting or whatever it is, right? Because now these younger players, or I should say inexperienced players, they haven't played as much. They're in there, and the communication has to be perfect. And if it's especially in the passing game, and if it's not perfect, then Shough could end up with a sack or, errant throw or whatever it is, right? So really, that's when you're supposed to rely on the run game, where it's easier to communicate. You kind of, where you're going, which player is supposed to block, give or take, right? It's supposed to be a little easier than trying to figure out the different defensive packages and blitz packages to set your protection. So with the inexperienced guys coming in, the backups coming in, I would be more inclined to want to put an emphasis on running the football and then convert to the passing game.
What was your evaluation of Tyler Shough getting his first start? He seemed like he had good command, looked better than I think we saw him in preseason, just in the decision making. He did that quicker. And I think it's obviously going to be a change going from college to the NFL, and that's tough for a quarterback initially. But I think it seemed like he had a better handle, at least, on what he needed to do and the offense in this game. So, kind of, how did you see things for him?
I thought Shough played with a lot of composure. He was going against one of the best defensive fronts in the NFL, and he did not look rattled. There wasn't a time, even when he threw the interception, he was a little late on it, but there wasn't a time I felt like the game got too big for him, or that he started looking down at the defensive front where the pressure was coming from. It looked like he kept his eyes downfield. He wanted to get the ball out quickly. So from that perspective, it was very encouraging. One thing that Saints fans should recognize and just keep in mind, the games should not be won on Tyler Shough's arm. All right, he's a rookie, and it's going to be making his second start. He's in there to manage the game, make a couple of throws, not turn the ball over, and then continue to be efficient with the offense. So, it's again going back to the identity, the expectation that Shough is going to lead the Saints offense and the Saints team to a victory. It shouldn't be there. He shouldn't have that pressure on him. It should really be on, again, going back to the run game and then playing good defense and taking the ball away, et cetera. So I really liked what Shough brought to the table. I liked his composure. The offense at times did look very efficient. That last drive before the end of the half looked really good. And it was like, oh, wow, this is what the Saints can become, right? And so you hope that they'll continue to get better. The relationship with him and the receivers will continue to get better. And then as long as he's getting the ball out quickly, not turning the ball over, and the defense starts to take the ball over, the Saints will have a chance to win every game.
How's it been for you seeing the Saints run a different defense here?
It is different. It looks different, but I've always had respect for Brandon Staley's defenses. I actually remember when he was a D coordinator at the Rams with Sean McVay, and I remember calling a couple of those games, and I thought that his defense was really good. I mean, he had some really good players, obviously, but the scheme was good, and it's no different. I like his scheme. I also like, I know it's not showing up in the stat sheets, but I like his commitment to trying to stop the run. He has no qualms putting 6 defensive linemen on the field, trying to stop the run. Demario Davis, still a very productive, good linebacker. So it's not for a lack of effort on his part. And I think that once they get a little more confidence and frankly, confidence all around, but a little more confidence defensively, and that comes with taking the ball away a little bit more, I think that you're going to see the defense start to impose their will on offenses.
Chase Young wasn't able to start the season because of injury, but he did play these last 2 games very well. He's getting to the quarterback. How have you seen his game improve, maybe from last year and his first year with the Saints?
I see more effort. I saw a guy last year and when he was with the Commanders, not so much the 49ers, but I saw a guy that he was he was trying to do everything. And when you're trying to do everything, you end up doing nothing. And so now I see him starting to lock in more to his role. What's his assignment? And it really is as simple as just beat that offensive tackle, right? And because of his athletic ability, he's been able to do that. And so, as long as he continues to make the game very simple in his mind, right? Just beat that offensive tackle. If it's a run, come down the line of scrimmage, be aggressive. Be aggressive. If it's a pass, use my athletic ability that he's been doing. I think he's going to be outstanding for the Saints.
How about some of the younger players, especially the ones in this past draft class with Quincy Riley coming in at cornerback, and then you have Stutzman who's coming in some at linebacker. Even Jonas Sanker, the safety that's been thrown in here early because of injury, they seem like they're holding their own and something that the Saints fans can get excited about for the future.
Yeah, they are. They're playing good football, and it just stinks because the record would say otherwise. But
Mhm.
you have young players that are playing well, and that's really the difference, right? The little difference in a lot of these teams. You have young players that you're expecting a lot from, right? And on other teams, you have young players where they're just expected to do their job. And so, like a Jonas Sanker, it at times it's not enough to just make the nice tackle, right? Because your offense needs the ball and they need a short field. So it's like you were expecting him to make a tackle plus a forced fumble or an interception and all these things that the Tyrann Matthews of the world did before, but he's not there yet. He's a rookie. And so I think they are playing well. I like their aggressive nature. I like that they are trying to do all the right things. And Brandon Staley's been a very good coach at preaching the fundamentals. Demario Davis is teaching them as well. It's just going to take time.
Yeah. As a former vet in the locker room here, if this is where the team is at, what are you telling them?
I fortunately was not in this situation, so with the Saints, I can go back to my Jets days. We went 4-12 my second year, and I any chance I got to tell the team and tell my teammates that we're better than what we are, and we absolutely have to go out and show it, I would. And so it was less about panic and more about just being more demanding. And even if it gets to a point, back then we lost all of our quarterbacks. We had three. We literally lost all three quarterbacks. We had Vinny Testaverde coming off the street playing, but our defense was still ranked top 10. And it was one of those situations where we said we want to win, and I was very demanding on trying to win and talking to my teammates. But if we did lose, we're like, we're going to make sure that they earned it and they felt it. And we didn't have many blowouts. That's the one thing that would be frustrating for me with the Saints locker room. We didn't have many blowouts. We lost games, of course, but we kind of got after them pretty good. So I would preach that, and I would be very demanding in that regard, where we got to be honest with ourselves. We are not good enough to have mistakes and win a game. Matter of fact, we have to play almost perfect in order to have a chance to win a game. And so if that's the standard for us, then that's how we have to practice. And then that's how we have to approach each week. And just understand that look, that one touchdown you give up on the defense, that may decide the game. And it sucks, but that's the reality. And we got to live with that and play with that the rest of the season. So that'll probably be my message, to make sure we're demanding, and we got to stop these blowouts, man. That's doesn't look good.
Hmm. A lot of people right now are talking about the trade deadline coming up. How does that affect a locker room?
You know what? It really doesn't. It's the business of the NFL. The front office, they're going to do what they're going to do, and that's what it is, right? Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, I got traded from the Jets to the Saints, and the best trade for me, obviously, only time I got traded, but it was the best thing that ever happened for my career. So never really worry about that. You go out, play as hard as you can. If you get traded, you get traded. If you don't, you don't. And whoever's in the locker room with you, that's who you ride with. And until somebody says otherwise, and you just keep playing.
All right, next up is the Panthers. Have you seen them yet this year?
I have not. I've seen the scores, and it's kind of like up and down.
Yeah.
They beat a good team, get blown out by another team. I don't know much about them yet.
Okay, well, they're coming off a win in Green Bay, walk-off field goal. Bryce Young did not play very well, but the defense did. What's the mentality that the Saints have to approach this game with? Because the week after, the Saints do have their bye. So I don't know how much that plays into it.
Well, definitely, we never looked ahead. So that would be first and foremost. And you have good veterans, that Cameron Jordan, Demario Davis. I'd be very surprised if they allow the team to look ahead to the bye week. So that would be first foremost. We got this week. It's only the only week we have, and we need to go out and play a division opponent. So regardless of what they've done, what their record is, how they've looked, you win these division games. Yeah, we always said it counts as two. So, and forget the records right now. It's a division opponent, and you're going to see them again at some point later in the year. So that should be the mindset. That should be the focus, right? You just take the corrections from last week. It stunk, ugly loss, but we're not going to let that loss turn into two. We have a Carolina Panthers team. We've seen them a million times. We've played against them a million times. We've beaten them, right? So let's go out there and make sure we do whatever it takes to win that game.
Have I ever asked you what your favorite Superdome memory is?
I don't know if you have, but that's pretty easy. NFC Championship game. I'm watching Garrett Hartley just boot the ball through the uprights. We win against Minnesota Vikings. Stadium in an uproar, and I mean, honestly, I couldn't hear myself half that game anyway. The game was so loud. The fans were rocking. So that was by far my best memory, by far the most electric I had seen the Superdome. And when I think about it now, I don't think there was a louder stadium I played in. Uh, Seattle might have been a close second, but that was the loudest stadium I'd ever played in, and I'm not joking. I could not hear myself. I had to convert to sign language in order to get the calls out because it was so loud. The fans were, man, it was great. Fans were electric. It was awesome.
Like actual sign language?
Legitimate sign language, yes. I was. So the first series, I didn't realize I had no idea it could get that loud. So bam, that was one. It actually got that loud. So the first series, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. So I had to go to every player, every teammate to tell them to like scream at them to play. So finally we get off and I tell Joe Vitt, I'm like, Joe, I am tired. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? It's the second quarter. I was like, Joe, I'm literally screaming at the top of my lungs, like, I can't do this anymore. So we came on the sideline. We made up hand signals, literally sign language, so that I can go out there. I got the play in my ear, and then I would just give them sign language on what the play was because it was awesome. Like I said, I was like, if I'm feeling these effects, I know Brett Favre is, so it ended up working out. It was great, but yeah, literal sign language for the rest of that game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I've been asking people because it's the 50th anniversary of the Dome this season for their favorite memory and everything like that. I can't remember who it was, but somebody this year that I talked to brought up you and Drew Brees and how you guys battled on who could get to the facility first in the mornings.
Yeah, yeah, that was my first year there, 2008. So I was always, well, take it back to my college days. I would always be up early with my defensive coordinator watching film. So I was used to being up 5:30, get to the facility and get my day going. So at the Jets, I did that. And I was always first in the building, didn't have an issue with it. So I'd go about 5:30, watch film, then get ready, work out, and then get my day going. And so I did that in New Orleans. I was expecting to be the first guy there. Drew Brees, of course, right? As expected, he was there before me. And so I kind of asked him what time he gets there. And he didn't realize why I was asking him what time he got there. So I beat him by like a minute or two to get there. And he comes into I'm watching film. He comes into the linebacker room, kind of just opens the door, barges in, and he's looking at me, and then I'm like, "What's up, Drew?" And he's just like, "What's up?" And then he's looking at me watching film, and then he's like, "What time did you get here?" And I was like, just a little bit, a couple minutes ago, right? Just leaving at that. And then he just shut the door. Like he was clearly irritated, agitated, and annoyed that I beat him to the facilities. So of course, the next day he comes in a couple minutes early, beats me to the facilities. So we kind of did this back and forth for I'd say about 4 days, 3 or 4 days. And then obviously I finally had to let Drew win. But it was awesome because I never had that before. I was like, wow, I got best quarterback in the league, and I may be biased, but I don't care. Best quarterback in the league. He's competing with me to make sure he is the first one in the building. I was like, man, this is awesome. Like I said, some trades are like the best things that happen to you in your career. So when I was there, I was like, man, this is great. I don't want to go anywhere else. I got a guy. He's awesome, competitive as I don't know what. Won't let me beat him in the building. I was like, it gets no better than that. It's a great day.
Yeah, I heard it got to like 4:45 or something
Yeah, and
crazy.
then I cut it. Yeah, it was 4:45, and I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, Drew, you got it. Love you, bro. I actually love that you're competing with me on it, and we were done.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate the time. It's always good to talk to you and hear some stories. And I'm sure all the Saints fans are happy that you got traded here as well.
No one happier than I am. It was a great time. New Orleans is still my second home. Love it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate the time and the insight from Vilma. Coming up in Wednesday's podcast, it will be our player podcast. We're sitting down with left tackle Kelvin Banks. He has had a great start to his rookie season. We'll get the lowdown from Banks on how the rookie season has gone from his perspective, what he's looking forward to the rest of this year, and we'll get to know him a little bit better just on and off the field. So make sure you tune in Thursday, Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network, 4 o'clock for the video version of that. And then, as always, it's available wherever you get your podcast on Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me for the New Orleans Saints podcast today, and I'll talk to you Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Rouse's Markets. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets.